de Penta New Era!
Penta has arrived in WWE to much fanfare and adulation, which is much deserved. This dude is a veteran of the business, and he has been all around the world, made a name for himself, and now he has arrived in WWE. He's not going to be your typical masked luchador that WWE just tries to say, hey, that's the next Rey Mysterio, because I don't think this is the next Rey Mysterio. I think this is the first Penta, which is ironic because there's actually 3 Pentas before him, Pentagons. Actually, this Penta is a Pentagon Jr. And you're like, wait, what are you talking about? That's what this video is about. Actually, I want to go over very quickly the Cliff Note version of who Penta is. We got this guy who Michael Cole has said is,
It was the worst kept secret in the business!
what do we know of Penta? I'll tell you what we don't know of Penta, his name. That's the first thing that really caught me off guard, is that we do not know what Penta's name is. We know what his family looks like because they were at the front row of Monday Night Raw. They're the people he hugged after he beat Chad Gable, and yet his name is unknown. Go to Wikipedia, and it's just like, we don't know what his name is. I love that. I love that. And that is a thing from the past of luchadors in Mexico. If they're wearing a mask, well, you don't really need to know if their name is. All you got to know is that's Pentagon Jr. Oh, no, I don't think his mom and dad actually was like, you know what, this looks like a pentagon. And then another interesting thing is, you know what the Cero Miedo means? If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. I actually called one of my employees who is Spanish and was like, hey, I don't want to look stupid. Too late, I know. I don't want to look stupid to the wrestling community. Can you tell me how to pronounce this catchphrase? And I think I got it. Cero Miedo. Which means no fear. I'm not scared. Why does he have that? Because he's just like living on the edge? Yes and no. The reason why he has no fear is because Pentagon, his character, the lineage, the history of his character, it's cursed. That's right. Pentagon is cursed. And, well, he's living his best life with Cero Miedo. And a really cool thing about Penta is that he has won singles and tag team champions almost anywhere, everywhere he has gone, and you also can win this belt right here. I'm assuming that Penta will eventually get a WWE title, but you can get one before him because we're almost at 10,000, and once I hit 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to give this belt away. And last Penta, if you're a subscriber, comment below and you have just an equal amount of chance to win as well, Penta. But for everybody else, just, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Once I hit 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to give this belt away on a live stream in my quest to quit my day job. I'm just trying to get the engagement up on the channel, get the subscribers, the views, all that up, because I'm trying to quit my day job. And let's go back now. Let's go back to see how it all started. So we'll go back and we'll do a quick history of the Pentagon family. It starts off with Triple A, not Triple H, Triple A forming in Mexico. It's a promotion rival to CMLL. They bring some wrestlers. Conan is a part of it. Conan being, from the Wolf Pack, Viva la Raza!
Arriba la raza! It's Bowdy and...
From the WCW days, he helped start Triple A, and they take a bunch of wrestlers, and Octagon is one of the wrestlers. Octagon is the face. Very popular. And so what they do is, he has a mask, he has an outfit, he's a luchador. So what they do is they create an arch rival for him. And just like in comic books, they take an arch rival and they make it like the opposite version of said hero. Just like Superman and Bizarro, Flash, Reverse Flash, Spider-Man, Venom, you take the superhero and you just take all the negative traits and put it onto a villain. And so now you got Octagon, who goes to become his arch rival is Pentagon. Shapes and numbers, octagon, pentagon.
There are 8 sides on an octagon, 8 sides on an octagon. There are 5 sides on a pentagon, 5 sides on a pentagon.
This is where the curse originates. The first Pentagon is actually in a match with La Parka, also of WCW fame. And, well, there's just no easy way to say it. It takes like a bump, and it wasn't like a crazy bump. It was not a crazy bump whatsoever, but the bump actually made him go into cardiac arrest. And so he retires after this. He didn't die, but his heart did stop, and it was very scary in the ring. And so he retires. But because you're under a mask, you can kind of just like, well, let's just give the costume to someone else. So then there's a Pentagon 2, and they continue their rivalry, Pentagon, Octagon, and then, you know, they go to Japan. Pentagon 2, he stays in Japan. There's some kind of like, I don't know, I think they poached him as a wrestler. The company in Japan poached him. So then, well, let's just give it to another Pentagon, Pentagon 3. Now, Pentagon, he is very popular, and he goes from face to heel, blah, 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 blah. It has a 10-year rivalry with Octagon. Sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're not. It all culminates in a mask versus mask match, and he lost. And a lot of times, when you put your mask or your hair on the line in Mexico, that's a huge freaking deal. Huge, huge, huge. It's like a career ender sometimes, or a new chapter, a new lease on your career. So yeah, he had to take off his mask. Oh, fun fact actually, during the Monday Night Wars, when Nitro, WCW was bringing all these luchadors and they had the cruiserweights, well, WWE tried to play with that idea, and they actually brought Pentagon and Octagon, this huge rivalry, to Monday Night Raw, and they actually fought on WWE TV, but nobody was really interested because WWF didn't know what to do. They were just trying to do anything. And so they're like, yeah, come on. They were just hoping that the Mexican style would just take off. As a trade-off, you know, they got Triple A's biggest rivalry of all time on WWE TV. What did WWE send? What did Vince McMahon send Triple A?
Talking about the bad guy, Razor Ramon, and Big Daddy Cool Diesel.
Fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon. Vince McMahon's so cheap and stingy.
We live like kings, not like you southern slick little hillbillies.
And shady, even back then. Anyway, so let's go back to the mask is off, and they say, you know what? That's it. Pentagon is done. He is donezo. There was also a Pentagon Mini, and then there was a black mini Penta. When I say black, I mean just the outfit. A lot of Mexican promotions, they like to have mini versions of said wrestlers. So anyways, the promotion just continues on. They had their biggest rivalry. It's over. But Triple A starts to kind of, well, they're not doing business as booming as it once was. So what do? They turn back to an old storyline, which every wrestling promotion does. Let's get our former hero, Octagon, back into the public eye. So what do? They get Octagon's kid, Octagon Jr., who was Kalisto in WWE, but he becomes Octagon Jr. Well, Octagon Jr. needs an arch rival. What if Octagon Jr., his rival was Pentagon Jr.? So now the kids of the rivals, the original rivals, are now rivals with themselves, and so they're fighting. But this Pentagon Jr. was the Penta that we know nowadays, but he had more charisma, more just, I don't know, he just had the it factor. Unlike before, all the Pentagons, they were kind of reliant on the costume. But Pentagon Jr., he was the costume and a personality, and he started really blowing up. And at one point, people are asking him about the curse of the Pentagon lineage, the outfit, and he was like, "No! Cero Miedo, no fear. I have no fear. I live my life, without fear." And so as he grows in popularity, Lucha Underground starts. Lucha Underground starts. It's a promotion that happened during a time where there was no AEW. TNA really, really sucked. And the producer of Survivor, the TV show, the game show Survivor, the reality show, he wanted to create something in the world of wrestling. And he created Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground was like a TV show, right? It was like, there were undercover cops. There was like ancient Aztec connections and all these things, and an evil promoter like Vince McMahon, and it all culminated into TV matches, wrestling matches. And so it was a weird blend of a TV show and wrestling, and it was called Lucha Underground, and it was an offshoot, or it was kind of like teaming up with Triple A. And so Conan took 5 wrestlers, and Pentagon Jr. being one of them, to Lucha Underground, and that exposed Pentagon Jr. to the American audience. And coincidentally, on Lucha Underground, Google Chelsea Green versus Penta. They have an awesome match. In Lucha Underground, there could be intergender matches. I'm not a big fan of intergender matches, I'm not gonna lie, but Penta had bangers with Chelsea Green and two members of Damage Control, Kairi Sane and this guy. He's like kicking him in the face and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. But it wasn't just like a beatdown though. It was actually a back and forth match, and they're actually pretty darn entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't want to see them now, but there is a part of me that maybe they should run it back and have a rematch. And I think these matches are gonna blow up now that Penta and those three are actually in the same company. So the fans, the audience, is really getting exposed to who Penta is. And Lucha Underground is one of the only alternatives right now in wrestling. And the 2010s going into 2019-20 were a really low period for wrestling fans. We had to put up with Brock Lesnar just always coming back and winning the championship and just taking the belt and leaving and all these things. And if you're a Brock Lesnar fan, that's fine and everything, but I'm just saying that we just really felt that wrestling was, I don't know, we still watched wrestling, we still loved wrestling, but our passion was at a low. And so a lot of people started exploring a lot of different things, and they would go to the indies, they would go to New Japan, Lucha Underground for all these things. And so there was a growing awareness of who Pentagon Jr. was. And so Pentagon Jr. on Lucha Underground just kept building his resume. But eventually Lucha Underground and their money management pretty much spelled the end of that company. But Pentagon Jr., he was now famous in America and could start taking indie bookings. Here's the thing though, AAA owns the name Pentagon Jr. because Pentagon is their creation. Kind of like WWE owns the name Dolph Ziggler. So when Dolph Ziggler had to leave the WWE and go to TNA, he's now known as Nick Nemeth there. Nick Nemeth is his actual name, but Dolph Ziggler is intellectual property of WWE. Well, Pentagon Jr. is intellectual property of AAA, so he started going by other names like Penta, L, Zero, M, and just different names. So then he starts going on the indies, and he actually makes his way to TNA, and on his first match, he actually wins the title in a three-way with Austin Aries, who was also in WWE, and against his brother, Rey Fenix. Did I not mention Rey Fenix? He has a brother, Rey Fenix, who is always kind of with them, sometimes not, sometimes is. They're known as the Lucha Brothers. He has about 30 matches in TNA with Rey Fenix. Sometimes they're single star, sometimes they're tag team. He didn't have a long title run, but he was their top champion, Penta, that is. And so then, after TNA, he goes back into the indie scene in the first AEW, non-official AEW event, the one that Cody started, All In, this huge event. And Penta, who has made a name for himself since Lucha Underground over these last couple years in America, well, he gets the spot against Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is a huge name in AEW. He's one of the founding fathers, and he gets this huge spotlight with Kenny Omega, and they fight each other. And so, with the success of this all-in show, this indie show that Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, they all put together, Tony Khan start a whole company, and Penta and Rey Fenix are AEW originals. The Lucha Brothers are day one signs, and they go into AEW. For 5 years, they're in AEW. They win the Trios title, they win the tag titles, they Ring of Honor titles, but I don't want to come across like an AEW hater. But in AEW, you are left to your own devices to get yourself over. Tony Khan will give you a platform to have a wrestling match, but that's about it. But in WWE, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure you succeed, from making sure your presentation, your angles, your merchandise, all of that stuff. Penta was in AEW for 5 years and didn't have a mask merchandise. Nobody was selling his mask. Look at Penta. He is an action figure. Kids and adults nowadays would love to buy that mask, would love to buy merch with Penta on it. And AEW had almost nothing to nothing. And WWE had it before his debut. Before Penta even wrestled, there was people wearing his mask, and they were selling that mask for a lot of money. So, that just shows that WWE knows how to really create, and Tony Khan doesn't really have that. He tries his best, and I'm glad AEW exists, but like he never could really fully utilize the Lucha Brothers. They have some great matches, but they never have any real like storytelling that you can sink your teeth in and be like, that's professional wrestling, because professional wrestling is ironically more than just wrestling. It's the entire package. It's stories. It's this, it's that. And so the 5 years come up, and Penta, this is what I think happened. They start talking like we're going to jump to WWE. Suddenly, all those rumors are stopped. And the reports are that Tony Khan heard that the Lucha Brothers were kind of just like bragging about how they were about to jump ship to WWE. And Tony Khan, being like, you know, being told that he's too soft all the time, puts an end to it. Because Rey Fenix, his brother, the Lucha brother, was injured at some point during this 5 years. And if you're injured in wrestling, if you have a 5-year contract, but you don't wrestle for 9 months because you were injured, you can add those 9 months onto the 5-year contract because, well, you couldn't be used for 9 months. And so that's what Tony Khan did to Rey Fenix. Penta can leave whenever he wants once his contract expires, but Rey Fenix is stuck in AEW. He is collecting a paycheck from Tony Khan, but yeah, he's not being used at all, and he's not being allowed to go to WWE. But WWE didn't want to wait. They were just like, you know, they were ready to go with Penta. And I think originally it was going to be the Lucha Brothers, but okay, fine, whatever. Let's just bring Penta. And this could have been a make or break moment for Penta even, because think about this. He has all this fanfare, all this merchandise, all this everything, and then they give him a match on Raw. If he had flopped and failed, well, just remember way back in the day, Sin Cara? Sin Cara would botch moves, and Sin Cara was a huge freaking deal at one point, but nope, he was reduced to jobber real quick because he couldn't hang. And so Penta had a make or break moment on Monday Night Raw, and at first it looked a little wobbly.
He grabbed a headlock on Gable with his right arm, and Gable tried to shoot him off, and it looked ridiculous. Then he almost fell over, and he tried to do a spring leg drop off the bottom rope, but he fell in a heap because he's used to cables, and those ropes don't have any spring. Into doing the big dive, and it looked like he hit hard on the floor.
But then he completely recovered, and boom, we've got ourselves a superstar now, a bona fide superstar. And Chad Gable, props to him for making Penta look good, but props to Penta for looking good also. And I gotta say, please do not compare Penta to Rey Mysterio. If you want to compare Phoenix, the brother, when he comes to WWE to Rey Mysterio, that's fine. Phoenix is the more like high-flying luchador of the two. I would say that Penta, if you're an old school fan, he's more like La Parka, or just like, you know, he'll do some cool and crazy moves. He's not going to be high-flying all over the place. There's more than one kind of luchador, and Penta is the kind of luchador that Rey Mysterio is not. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm just saying don't compare them. I hope that really explained who Penta was, like his history, who he is, where he is right now. We don't even know the guy's name, but we do know that English or Spanish, put a mic in his hand and he can connect with you. I really felt that, language barrier or not. Porque yo soy Penta el Zero. I love you guys. His inflections, everything, his body language, his style of wrestling, I really connected with it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Penta brings to the WWE table, and I can't wait for his brother to eventually come as well, because I would love to see them. I would love to see them in the WWE tag division. They could definitely carry it, but right now, let's just see what Penta can do. Amazing times, amazing times in WWE right now. Welcome, Penta, to the WWE family. Guys, girls, have a great day.